Okay, good morning and welcome to Iyun Benzion. Today we're finishing the second parak of Kesubos, Chav number 28. I want to talk today about the Mishnah over here on Chav and Aleph on the bottom. A katan, a child, he can't come to court and testify. It says Eidos is invalid. However, in a certain circumstance, for example, he's testifying, he remembers what happened about something that happened while he was a katan. And now, I don't know, 2 or 3 years later, where the statute of limitations doesn't apply, he comes to base as a gadol. Now, a gadol, an ish who's a gadol, a man who's a gadol, is completely valid to testify, as long as he has shtei saros, and as long as he's 13 years old. So, he is Ne'eman over here, but he's not completely Ne'eman, because when he saw, there's 2 parts of testimony, seeing it and saying it, right? So, you really have to see it when you're a gadol to believe testimony that you're saying now that you're a gadol, but you saw it while you're a katan. So you are believed, but only partially. And the Gemara says, the Gemara is very clear that he's only neman by isurim derabanan. It comes to dinei mamonis, for sure not neman. The Gemara said chafkan on base because you need 2 kosher edim to be motzi mamon. And a katan, even though he's a gadol now, he's still possible eidos partially. I'll explain in a second more what his status is. However, when it comes to Mekayim Ashtar, the Gemara says that he's not neman by himself. Even though Kiyam Ashtar is derabanan, the Gemara says he needs another gadol with him. So I'm going to explain this in his first, and then I'll explain the idea of a katan after that. The idea that he needs a gadol with him is because we mentioned like Kiyam Ashtar, even though Kiyam Ashtar is derabanan, I've explained, right, to validate the signatures in order to collect the money, right, technically you need 2 edim on each signature, right? However, a katan with a gadol could validate a signature, because it's only derabanan. I mentioned the legitimacy of the signature, the signature wasn't forged, that's only a chashash derabanan. We're going to see a katan has ne'emanis for that. However, he's also testifying in Mekayim Ashtar. We paskin amana the amana shebashtar hukamas. He's not only testifying about the signatures, he's also corroborating the fact that there was an actual loan over there, and we proved that based on that Kiyam Ashtaros is partially dorais and partially derabanan. So therefore, when it comes to the actual signatures, to validating the signatures, he would be neman by himself. However, because Kiyam Ashtaros is partially derabanan and partially doraisa, so therefore he needs another gadol with him, because on each signature you'll have 1 gadol. So those 2 gadols will be 2 edim on the actual loan, right? Normally you need 4 edim, 2 for each signature. You had that for the actual signature, and you could trust the katan for that, because only the rabbanan. We'll see for the rabbanan the katan is believed. However, for the manish rishar, you need 2 kosher edim. That's why the Gemara says you need a gadol imoim. Now, getting back to the katan, I want to talk about the problem in ne'emanos and eidos, credibility of eidos. The reason we only believe a man as a kosher aid, a woman is not a kosher aid, an eved is not a kosher aid, a krovim, if he's a relative of yours, he's not a kosher aid, a gazlan, people who do averos are not kosher aid, they haven't done tshuva, they're not kosher aidim. There's 2 problems, there's 2 reasons Adam lack credibility. One reason certain Adam lack credibility is because at the time of the testimony, they weren't careful in witnessing, they didn't pay enough attention, right? Their mind wanders, like by women, Nashim, Dait, and Kalos, they're not, analyzing things so intensely. We can't trust their recollection of what actually happened. And the second thing is when you actually come into court, we're worried that you might fabricate things consciously or subconsciously. You might actually lie, like a gazlan, or you might actually, like a krovim, you're biased, right? He's your brother, so you might, distort the facts that you say in court just to corroborate the other aide's testimony. Sometimes you'll do it consciously, and a lot of times you'll do it subconsciously, and either way, it invalidates your aides because it's questionable whether you have credibility or not. Now, the case in our Mishnah is talking about a katan, and he's being made as a gadol. So at the time of he's being made, he's a kosher aid. So there's no lack of credibility that he might distort the facts now. However, there is a question whether he has recollection. And the Gemara says, even by his brother, where there's no reason to assume he was careful in seeing the actual signature, and I explained in the main share, by extension anyone else, he would be believed over there by a derabanan, by Kiyam Ashtar is derabanan, and by all the other things, by Tchumen becomes a base pras, Tuma derabanan, all these things, he is ne'eman, the katan is ne'eman, for the simple reason that he's now a gadol also. If he was a complete katan, right, and he's being made as a katan, he saw what a katan, now he's still a katan. So there's two problems with his credibility. First of all, he might not have actually had a proper witnessing of what actually went on. He probably didn't pay attention. And secondly, he might distort the facts. A katan, like an isha, like an eved, like a gazlan, they're going to distort the facts when in their testimony. So therefore, they have no ne'emanos at all. We have two problems with ne'emanos. They have no ne'emanos at all. However, sometimes you have partial ne'emanos. And that's exactly the case over here. So when it comes to Isurim, all these cases are where it's a suffix doraisa. Like I mentioned yesterday, it's 65% chance, right? It has to pass muster. It has to be able to be called a suffix, right? If 50%, it's not called a suffix, but it's 65%. There's a chash, right? Gemara uses, there's a doubt. We're not sure. There might be a problem over here. So therefore, normally if the katan was being made as a katan, he's still a katan now, we have no credibility at all. But he's being made as a gadol. So therefore, in terms of actually witnessing what he witnessed, he might not have paid attention. So there's one question regarding his credibility. However, now he's a gadol, he's testifying, so we assume he's an ish, he's a man, he's not going to distort the facts. He has credibility, he has legitimacy, so he's not going to distort the facts. So therefore, like I mentioned yesterday, when it comes to Isurim, you need a chazaka. You need a status, you need assumption. You can assume a chazaka is strong enough by Isurim. It's strong enough by Isurim. So therefore, 75% is enough of a proof. However, so a katan, you're trying to add 5%, 10%. So he lacks the 5% because he didn't pay attention. But now he's a gadol, so the other 5% he has. So it bumps it up to 70%. 70% credibility is considered tliya, like he said. Chazal, even though 65% they would consider a suffix, suffix d'oraisa l'chumra, they go in their rabbanan l'chumra. Everyone, they can be tola when they have a reason to hang their hats on the fact that maybe there is a little bit of credibility, 70% credibility. So then they would believe the katan on a derabbanan, and they say, hey, Mamur Rahim, they were machmer on derabbanan. If they have something to be told on, they would be told on that. And just to extend this idea to Eidos in general, Psuli Eidos in general, we could say like this, that we have to come analyzed by all other different Psuli Eidos when it comes to Krovim, when it comes to Avodim, Nashim, and things like that. To what extent are they Pasul Eidos? This is not for now, but this is when we go forward in Shas. Do we assume they have no credibility at all? And Isha and Evet, Isha, she's not Medayik, she's not careful in her Eidos. Maybe she'll also distort things. They have no ne'emanos at all. Or certain Eidim actually have a partial credibility, like a katan, what he saw when he was katnus, and he's now being made as a gadol. We're going to have to analyze that going through Shas, where they have no credibility at all, or they have a partial ne'emanos, which by Yisr D'Rabbanan would be valid by Yisr V'Heter, not by Dinei Mamonos, of course. It's the conclusion of today's shir. I hope you enjoyed. See you in the third parak coming up tomorrow. Stay tuned for Mishnah Yomi coming up next.